want to begin by expressing my appreciation to our rabbis and all those who are coordinating our shul's response to the war. When Jason Suss approached me to speak, my initial reaction was no. I felt inadequate to say anything that could really make a difference. Frankly, since returning from Israel, I find myself in a funk. Like many of you, my attention seems to constantly go to checking my phone for news from Israel. At home, we have become addicted to I-24 News. Yet, what I took from my 3.5 weeks in Israel was there was a strong sense of community and resilience. I arrived in Israel on Thursday, October 5th, for what I thought was to be a joyous time. The visit was in conjunction with the birth of our newest grandson, Simcha Zelig, the first of our grandchildren to be named for my father-in-law, Alav Shalom. I was equally excited to celebrate my birthday on Friday with my Israeli grandchildren, though, in the spirit of full transparency, they were more excited than me. Finally, I was really looking forward to the opportunity to dance with my Israeli grandchildren on Simchas Torah. Well, the Shabbos part of Simchas Torah did not go exactly as planned. As I have noted to many, I arrived to one country and left from another without changing geographies. My son-in-law and I got to shul, and there was a man that immediately told us we had to go home. There was a terrorist on the loose, and we could not stay. Confused, we left, and a police car came by telling us the Beit Knesset is closed. So instead of dancing with my grandchildren, we went home and then into the safe room 6 different times that day as the siren went off. My 6- and 7-year-old granddaughters were very upset, and they are certainly not alone. Following that Shabbos, children were scared to go into their gardens or enter the park across the street. During the first week of the war, the most traffic that we saw was in the sky as helicopters and planes flew overhead constantly. By week 2, things began to become more normal. Schools reopened for half days. However, the early childhood programs, infant to 3 years old, were mainly closed because most of them lacked shelters or safe rooms. Thank God they have resumed as well, and schools are back to full days. The first indication of the community's resiliency was on Simchas Torah itself. It was time to daven mincha, and my daughter's neighbors said, "We can't have sirens and safe rooms be the memory of Simchas Torah." One of the residents had a Torah, and we assembled in a hallway by the indoor garage, considered a safe place. We did have kafos. It was great to hear laughter and see smiling little faces. Many of the men were called up for military service on Shabbos and Sunday. Suddenly, sisters and sister-in-laws moved in together to support one another, while their husbands were called up or just volunteered. Many grandparents arrived to give helping hands. The sense of community is very strong. The polarization within Israeli society over the past few months because of judicial reform was very real. But starting with this war, everyone seems to have put their differences aside. We are all fighting as one for our country. We are fighting for our brothers and sisters who were brutally slain throughout the Negev. We are fighting to get our brothers, our sisters, our grandparents, our parents, and our children back. A touching example of Achdut played out in my daughter's new community, Neve Shamiya, or Ramat Beit Shemesh Hay, on the second night of the war. The municipality included a synagogue in its infrastructure as part of its urban planning, but the heated disputes ensued over which minyan would get the approval to daven there, and at times it was intense. 24 hours after the beginning of this war, the entire community came together for Ma'ariv and the recitation of Tehillim. The synagogue was filled with men and women from all walks of life. As the davening concluded, everyone linked arms and swayed together in song. It was a powerful example of Kol Yisrael, Arav and Zeh. There has been an unbelievable mobilization of the Jewish people in Israel and throughout the world. Specifically in Israel, young and old are stepping up from delivering food, meeting the needs of the more than 120,000 displaced people, cleaning out shelters, helping to cover businesses of those in the army, to covering for teachers called up. It has been equally impressive in what is transpiring in our communities here. Everyone is playing their part in this critical moment in our history. Speaking of history, tonight we mark 85 years since Kristallnacht, the Night of Broken Glass, a pogrom against Jews carried out by the Nazi Party paramilitary forces. Sadly, the same seeds of warning that were witnessed after Kristallnacht are being seen once again. and tragically, Holocaust survivors themselves are alive to witness it. It is our moral duty to speak out and stand firmly against those who promote hatred of Israel and of Jews. As we've heard over the past few weeks, the phrase "never again" has sadly now become "now we must never again," and we must recommit ourselves to doing all we can to combat hatred and promote peace and tolerance. Next week, on November 14th, we will have an opportunity to take action and march for Israel, march to free the hostages, and march against anti-Semitism. I look forward to being able to do my part. Finally, with God's help, the hostages will be speedily freed and the war will come to a victorious conclusion. Then, the really hard work will begin, the healing, the rebuilding. Let history show that we showed up and we stood up. Am Yisrael Chai.